Good afternoon, and what is a warm, bright, and sunny day. It is Wednesday, the 16th of August. I've got a nice hot cup of tea. And quite a big, chunky board game to unbox. This is Tales from the Loop, the board game. Okay, so this is published by Free League, of course. I've finally been able to get hold of a copy, thanks to Free League. So Tales from the Loop, the board game, step into the amazing world of Simon Stålenhag's Tales from the Loops. In Tales from the Loop, the board game, between 1 and 5 players take the roles of kids who investigate the mysteries originating from the loop, a huge underground science facility with strange effects on the suburban landscapes around it. Just make sure you're home in time for dinner. Tales from the Loop board game is a cooperative experience where all the players work together towards a common goal. There are 6 unique scenarios in the core box, with each featuring a specific property of the loop. There is also the Mystery Islands mode, where you get to discover your own mysteries and adventures. The game features original artwork by Simon Stålenhag, as well as expertly crafted pre-assembled miniatures of the machines featured in the artwork. So this is designed, it says it's 2 to 5 players at the bottom. It says though, ages 14 plus, 180 minutes, so it's quite a lengthy, long playing game. And those miniatures there, that's what they look like when they're painted. They don't come painted in the core set. And there's also a couple of expansions for it, so I've got those to look at in due course. Now, so remember, it's important to remember with Tales from the Loop that essentially this is kind of extra to the role-playing game, to the artwork, and also to the television series, which you'll be able to see on Amazon. And when Tales from the Loop came out, was it 2017, 2016, something like that, how big an impact it had. Just the look of this artwork, which sort of combined elements of sort of like the strange 80s in northern climes, and placed the emphasis upon playing children, investigating the mysteries of the landscape around them, whilst also contrasting their home lives and how difficult they were. None of the children sort of like came from necessarily from perfect homes. One parent families, divorce, parents going through divorce, trying to deal with poverty, that sort of thing, were all featured in the game. You're trying to cope with at the same time as have these really quite interesting situations. But let's open this up fully. Let's see what is inside. It's quite a big box, as I say. And we can open up. Okay. And we've got, see that. And the first thing we can see, let's have a look at the rule book. And the style is in exactly the same look as the role-playing game, very clean, almost sort of like, I've described it as like an architecture magazine. So the style look will be familiar to anyone who has looked at both the role-playing game Tales from the Loop, and also the Simon Stålenhag's book itself. So essentially having looked at all the various pieces, then you look at the game set up on the map, and then placing event locations, and then explaining how you play the game, how the machines work, and then playing a round. So at the top you've got the school phase, and dealing with things like rumours of the strangeness. That's what will draw the kids in the Tales from the Loop into the adventures, and then the adventuring phase, where they will go off and investigate. Guide to movement and conditions your characters might suffer. How to avoid machines, but also, so basically how to avoid the machines, but also the adventure actions you can take. encountering firewalls, but ultimately you're going to be home for dinner in the end phase, you know. And the home for dinner point is always the time when you reflect, and at the end we have sort of like you have variant rules as well, including things like for caring parents, and partly because essentially the parents aren't uncaring, it's just that they're so wrapped up in their own concerns and they're not as caring as they could be. So options for making play easier and so on, and harder. And then we have the world of the loop, which describes the setting. And you've got an advert on the back for the role-playing game and the starter set. And this, again, the look of this is very familiar, not just from the starter set, but also from the core rulebook. We're describing Sweden in the 80s. And the thing is, Sweden in the 80s, it will be almost as unfamiliar to many of us, you know, as medieval Europe. It would be in many ways. Essentially, the setting for this, for the Tales from the Loop, is in and around a great defunct, sort of like sort of hyperloop, energy particle loop, which led to many technological breakthroughs, including these machines, but also left a lot of secret in place. So it is very much an ultimately an alternate setting. So we have a couple of summary cards. Let me just show you. So you have got two of those. You have these are all tokens. And basically those are going to be the encounter cards. Then you've got the player character, or the player pieces, another set of tokens, various types. Then you have the map. Actually, not as big as I thought it was going to be, but it's still big enough. So that's quite an impressive looking affair. And then you've got this underneath. So opening up that tray, you have the cards for the different machines. Front and back. And these are, what next? Various cardboard cubes, sorry, wooden cubes, not cardboard cubes. You have the character sheets, so on. So you have like Lena, popular girl, Sasha, computer geek, and these are all kind of archetypal characters. And it's essentially you've got slots in here for those cubes to go. So Niles, the weirdo, Stefan, the jock, Veronica, the metalhead, Clara, the bookworm, Jonas, the hick, and Alex, the troublemaker. You have a set of Tales from the Loop dice, essentially the same as in the role-playing game, in fact. You've got a set of standees for your characters, and then encounters cards like, you know, there we go. So that's your items deck. essentially your encounters deck. Whoops, sorry, there we go. You know, and then we have things for things that can occur in school, like the shame. You know, psst, Emma is still telling everyone that you still wet the bed at night, don't you? And essentially, you know, this is sort of like an encounter you've got to overcome. And of course, it's quite emotional and embarrassing, you know. And then we have this separate little tray at the end. And these, oh, I'm going to have to get the knife on these, just to get the sellotape. Undo the sellotape on them. And we have these really nicely done little miniatures. Machines. So you've got essentially 2 of those each. Two of these are tiny little, just one of those, and then one of those. And there is space, I think, for another couple of things in there, and all this sits in a nice flat tray. So that's quite an impressive kind of setup you've got in here, I think. Those in particular are kind of impressed by, you know, it feels like you are almost sort of playing a role-playing game because of it. They, you know, because of the strong similarities between Tales from the Loop board game and Tales from the Loop role-playing game. You know, essentially in terms of settings. Sorry, that's not closing. Have I got that in the wrong position? I bet I have. So yeah, that's Tales from the Loop, the board game, published by Free League Publishing. You know, conjunction with the Tales from the Loop role-playing game, and also with Simon Stålenhag's art books, which are really worth tracking down and looking at just for the artwork, even if you don't want to involve yourself in the board game or the role-playing game, although I recommend both. Anyway, Tales from the Loop, the board game from Free League Publishing. I hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, then please do click on the like button down below. And if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings in the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box containing, in this case, a board game, which I'll unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea. Then please do click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing Nook. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.